So I think that's why Jay's good at this.
Let's get to him. Jay Foreman, former Husker. What's going on, Jay?
Not much, man. Just a regular old cool Monday. It's fall officially, probably a little chilly outside.
Hey man, you look fantastic on Saturday, man. You rock that gray and that facial hair. Man, you wear that well, my man.
Hey, man, it's a byproduct of losing two bets. My mini me, the youngest, keeps getting straight A's. So then that was the beard was the first loss, and then the growth of the hair is. I think she just thinks that I look funny the way I am. So it's all good.
Hey, listen, we're
I'll
both
take it.
we're both taking L's in our household. That's fine. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Hey, so I appreciate you just being able to pick up the phone, man. I try not to take advantage of our friendship, but man, how where do you come out on maybe it's 50-50, 60-40, 70-30? Kind of players doing what they need to do and matching a team's intensity versus the execution or the game plan not being what you want it to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I think the big part is probably 80-20. Showing up with the mind with your mind right. A coach can't control that. Yeah, you can get you inspired at the beginning of the game, but showing up and knowing that you got a competition and then spreading that wealth in the locker room and more importantly, demanding it out of everybody and know what the standard is 80% of it. Now the game plan and all that stuff, this, you coach tends to change when things are called the perfect call or at least a realistic call for a good outcome in the situations turn into like obliteration or not even close to it. You get off rhythm and then it kind of just becomes a little bit, I wouldn't say a guessing game, but let's see what can get these guys going because everything that you probably expected, say if a chart of 6 or 8, scenarios or plays, probably weren't executed and the energy of the team, definitely probably resonated in some of those things. I think the easiest thing to do is say, you give up 9 sacks, you need all new offensive linemen, and then we need to fire the offensive line coach. And then if you're not doing well offensively, then it's the game plan. I think it really what it comes down to is your intentions of showing up ready to play and understanding who you realistically are. Not who you say you are, just who you realistically are and who you want to be are drastically two different things because that type of game, Minnesota – is a player-led game, showing up ready to play and understanding that you're out there in the competition because it wasn't anything fancy. I mean, at the end of the day, Minnesota did not like. It's hard for me to say they're a bad team because I think Nebraska's better than what they played, but I don't think they're a very good team. I think it's on the over the years of PJ Fleck, when he's really been rolling, this is probably I wouldn't say the worst team. It's one of the lower end
Relative
teams.
to his successful years, I agree with you.
Right. Right, and especially across the lines. I mean, you got to think they've made a history on this, on the down low of like first round picks, second round picks, third round picks, guys who's in the league just collecting big checks and not really getting all the fanfare because of all the Penn States, Ohio States, Michigans, and now Oregon's and all those guys, getting all the offensive linemen getting the glory. And the same thing across the defensive line. I mean, I think there was a 4-year period. Minnesota was a top 10 defense.
Yeah.
Just like craziness. And so it's a little bit lower level team, but that doesn't mean that those guys aren't Division I athletes and know how to compete. So I think it was a learning lesson on what you show up and you beat everybody. Just because Purdue had some success and really relatively gave Minnesota the game doesn't mean that you're not going to get their best shot. I think the learning lesson is this: everybody, I wouldn't say is essentially coaching for their jobs, but they have a lot of pride in their jobs in this coaching business, right? So if Minnesota's defense or their team doesn't look up to snuff against Purdue, Minnesota has a standard of we need to get back right, and we have to do it quickly. So the intensity and the magnitude of the Nebraska game, even after a victory for Minnesota, ugly or whatever you want to call it, you're going to get their best effort. You're going to have their best game plan. Both teams know each other. The players know each other or kind of have a good beat on it. I'm sure Minnesota's done some scouting on any of the transfer portal guys, so it wasn't like you're catching them by surprise. and you just got off to a little bit of a slow start. And then more importantly, in the third quarter, just had a couple breaks that didn't go your way and weren't able to kind of get that
Mm.
motor going. Which you were able to do in the last couple weeks. And this is the thing that where you know this from coaching, and we know this as players. I've been blunt. Like, look, we played on one of the greatest teams of all time and went on probably one of the greatest runs of all time outside of maybe recent Alabama. And the way that you do that, and a big part of it was the results were always going to be the results of the process. So you can be happy that you won the game, but not be happy how you won the game. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can enjoy the win, but understand that you got to get better. And maybe there was just a couple things that kind of like were a little bit leaky, and guys always think, oh, we'll turn it on in the end, and you just do that in the Big Ten, especially when a team like Minnesota kind of plays so close to the vest, trying to really get that play. Like we played around their play count, which is perfect for them. No more than 60 plays, and kind of just slug it out and make it a kind of like an ugly, like oozing type of win, and for Minnesota, and just a learn lesson for them that that second half or that first 6 minutes of that second half is probably as important as the first 6 minutes of starting the first quarter.
Mm. Jay, so take me kind of inside the mentality of a football team here a little bit, because I think a lot of people who didn't play this game at a high level like myself sit here and we wonder as fans from the outside, like, hey, how does that happen when it looks like, assuming this is what happened, that Nebraska just kind of didn't emotionally have themselves ready to show up on Friday night? Like, how does that happen over the course of the week? Do you kind of have a sense on Tuesday, Wednesday, you're like, things feel a little off? Do you just show up on game day and it doesn't feel quite right? Like, how does that happen? Because I think a lot of us, that's something a lot of us don't understand.
I mean, the easy thing, I guess if you have a bad week of practice and all that, but I don't think that was the case or whatever. I think sometimes it just happens. Um, I think it's a learning process for a team that's learning how to be a championship type of team and players. It's the middle part of the season. So you got to think that, you have to have that mental fortitude to get yourself going. And it's a shorter week. Obviously, it's a travel week, or a travel game. So it's even shorter in the sense of, come Wednesday, you're thinking about, I'm getting on the plane tomorrow at some point in time heading to Minneapolis. And so where Minneapolis is thinking about, we're going to practice, we can get extra film, we're at home. It's a little bit different type of mindset. So I just think I wouldn't call it immaturity, like in the sense of like immature sometimes is be like, okay, where, like you're out to 2 o'clock in the morning and thinking that it's high school again. I think it's probably just a little bit of inexperience of being in this type of situation. You get ranked, so then the back row, the patting on the back is probably a little bit more this week as far as the outside people telling you finally you're ranked. And sometimes when you finally get ranked, you're like, okay, we finally arrived, and boom, you're right back in the arena in Minnesota. So I think it's a little bit of circumstances, maybe attention to detail, but then I think also like in that locker room, you got to have guys that are willing to push those buttons and understand that the magnitude of these two road games and what could possibly come out of those road games. And obviously Minnesota was able to take advantage of our little bit of inexperience in that situation. And so really, I think the big tell-all, or not the big tell-all, a big part of it will be, how you approach practice this week, how much you take accountability for it, as far as like, and that has to be internally. You don't need to get up and, do the whole Tim Tebow thing and all that stuff. And this, that stuff, you don't need to do that, but it's probably within those walls in their locker room, true accountability. And then, be willing to understand that, what, we didn't live up to our expectations, we didn't play to our standard. And we're going to do this, actively address it. Because as much as the Maryland game and the like say Cincinnati game and the Michigan State game, where you can draw back on it and say, okay, we're going to compete to the very end, right? And if you want to kind of take some out of the Michigan game as like one score game or whatever it is, you also have to have this Minnesota game in the back of your mind and say, okay, I'm a little tired. Maybe I need 15 more minutes of tape. Maybe I need to communicate a little bit more. Maybe ask the question that I might think I might know, not just for me. It could be for Damon or Ravi in there that are playing another position, because what affects me at my position definitely affects you too. You understand?
Yeah.
And that's where you just got to get through it. And that's the hard part because you're in this transfer portal like world of like you're always adding new rosters. So guys got to learn how to get that connect really quick. But then also you got to understand once this season starts, none of that stuff matters. And so game 1 to 12, we have got to be locked in and keep raising the standard week in and week out.
Hey, what's the dichotomy, or what's the kind of the trick to understand? Because this is what you'll hear fans say. And I agree with some of it, right? Where Minnesota's just been a better program than Nebraska the last 10 years, and they've had a ton of success against Nebraska the last 10 years. But this Nebraska team needs this chapter in the book for their growth too. Handling being ranked in the top 25, a short week of preparation, back-to-back road opportunities where you can acknowledge that Minnesota is what they is, but that doesn't mean that's not their journey, right? Like that's not this team's journey, but you can recognize because the low-hanging fruit for media and fans is, well, why can't you just accept that Minnesota's been like that's a loser mentality, right? That's for
right, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
that's it. I mean that's
like that's what
it's part of the reason why, and that kind of resonates.
They don't have to just accept. It can be true, but you don't want them accepting it. Like, what are we talking about?
You never accept that. I mean, it's like you don't want to be second fiddle to anyway. I mean, it's almost like stepping on the field and be like, okay, well, we'll be okay with losing today as long as it's not too bad. At the end of the day, a loss is a loss, and Minnesota over the last 10 years is been better. They've had more stability. I think they've had 3 coaches in the last 10 years, right? And if you have maybe even, I'm trying to add up the numbers, maybe even if you go a little bit farther, Bo and all that. And even Minnesota went through a little tumultuous time with, Jerry Kill getting sick, Clay taking over, the false allegations against some of their star players, had tremendous amount of turmoil in the athletic department for decades. Trust me, I've read about it, and when I was up there, even in high school, and they've been able to kind of stabilize it with PJ, and it's been rough with him, but they've kind of kept the main thing, and they're over the last 10 years they've been more successful. But if Nebraska wants to get to where they want to be, and you can't go from 0 to straight up domination, you got to be able to answer the bell when it's needed, when it's not ideal. You got to be very, very comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that's a locker room thing, right? Let's get a little little friction, and it can't be, and it also doesn't necessarily have to be me like coming down on Damon when you miss a tackle. It's got to be like, I need you because I'm not here. You know what I'm saying? Like it's got to be like, okay, I'm off my game, dude. I need you to get me today, right? That's where it comes. It's not just give. It's give and take, and that's what you have to do. And they got to, understand where Minnesota's at. You can't change that game, right? You got to learn from it, and then just really hyper focus on Northwestern, because as much as Minnesota was a lot of pressure,
it can't be. It can't. Yeah, you can't allow that to beat you twice.
Yeah, because Northwestern, and it's not even a physical thing, right? It's not like it's more of a mental thing, because Northwestern's coming in here. They just pretty much a feather in the cap. Braun might still be there. He just got a coach fired. They went to Penn State in a must-win for them, beat them. That same mentality they got out on that plane to fly in the Happy Valley is the same mentality they're coming from Chicago down here. We've done it once. We have the recipe. We held serve against Purdue, an uptick. Well, listen, everything that you can think of, they're creating confidence and a blind faith in what they've been able to do. So as you prepare for it, you don't wilter and say, oh, well, they just beat Purdue, who took Minnesota to the, essentially the woodset, except for a couple plays. You got to say, okay, look, Northwestern's coming down here, going to give our best shot, but their best shot isn't going to be better than our best play or how we're going to play on Saturday. And then you just got to actively prepare to do so, and then go out there and just play. Go out there and play football. Go out there and understand, you have a lot of great things that you have down there. You got the facility. You got you're well taken care of. You got money in your pocket. You got a fan base that's going to be there. You're playing at home. But then you got to understand you still got to go out and play football. And
you got to understand you can't get scooped on the second level, right? Like,
right.
Those are the things.
Right. You can't be going right and the ball's going left. Like Like, you can, this isn't like, hey, I did my job and you're 40 yards away while, Damon's getting double teamed and obliterated. You got to go and get over there and jump in the fight. And, guys just got, look, you got to, tackle better. You got to, probably a little bit be more tightened up in what you want to do. The easy thing is now, it's like you saw something, and the funny thing about it is there's a guy on, I guess, X or Twitter, whatever. I mean, it's called X now. It was like, oh, on a 3-step drop, like they're trying to say Dylan was in a 3-step drop. Listen, bro, he was in shotgun 8 yards back. If any quarterback can get 8 yards on a 3-step drop, then he has the most athletic ability ever at the quarterback position. That ball ain't coming out. That's deep. That's a deep drop trying to get a chunk yard. They were talking about when he gave up a sack. So, it's like, you got to recognize the noise, because I always do think you have to understand what people are feeling, right? When you're not, when you're playing good, and when you're not playing good. But then you can't get punch drunk off of it, right? You gotta accept, because as much as you accept, hey, you guys are the second coming of 95 a few weeks ago, or you're on the cusp on the come up or whatever thing, like, you have to accept that too. But you don't have to be blinded by it, because you could be winning but still continue to work on getting better. You could lose the game and still have things to work on. Michigan's the same example. Like, say you won Michigan 30-27, but played the exact same.
You still got to get better.
Right, you still got to do it. And then you go to Minnesota, you don't play well, you still got to get better. But you got to dig in, though. You get what I'm saying? This can't be rinse and repeat. The intensity and the sacrifice has to be done. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where you get, because this is the time where you got to really push yourself to do more. Because, you do this, you look right down the barrel because you win this game, and then now you're right back in the ball game again. You get what I'm saying? And there's very rarely that you get to, like, remedy the gas face twice in a season. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Blue blood coming in. They're supposed to be all that. A little revenge on your mind. You know what I'm saying? Lincoln Riley that has the dry brisket on Thanksgiving, all that stuff. He's trying to get back right. All them things, man. You know what I'm saying? You should never lose to a coach that has dry brisket on Thanksgiving.
That is our guy, Jay. Oh,
that's
Foreman.
that's that gunpowder chowder for real.
Hey man, he said Happy Thanksgiving, boy. I said, man, that thing is dry. You know what I'm saying? Whoever catered that in, boy, your smoker was turned up by 100 degrees too much.
Ooh, hey, I appreciate you on Saturday, my man. It's all love all the time.
Yeah, always, man.
Appreciate you.
That is Jay Foreman. We appreciate it, Jay. We'll talk again soon.